Do you think there's a huge genetic component to that, or had their training been so well defined and appropriate for them that has enabled them to get to that level? Or it's kind of like, did they have a genetic ceiling that was they were able to train towards that genetic ceiling? Whereas, say, if I did it, I would get to like a sub-elite level just because I just didn't have the potential there.
Yeah, I do think there's a genetic component to it just because there's so many genetic factors that influence systemic cardiovascular control. I mean, there's the alleles that you have of angiotensin converting enzyme, which impacts the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system. That is a really important factor for determining blood pressure. There is how your body regulates sodium, which also impacts blood volume and blood pressure. There's potassium handling. There's what is your blood volume? Blood volume isn't something that we tend to think a lot about, but there's a reason why athletes blood dope. It's because if you increase your blood volume more than you would have otherwise, you're able to sustain higher cardiac outputs. And that is something that is partially determined by genetics among training. So I think it's this mixture where your genetics is like the blueprint, but you need to realize those genetics to present this phenotype that will allow you to beat everyone in your competition. So if you don't have the genetics, you're not going to be a world-class performer, but just because you have them doesn't mean you will either. Genetics are necessary, but not sufficient. You develop those sufficient components through training. So it's very much a marriage of these things.
Okay.